We finally have a debut taking place on WWE Raw. Another WWE debut may have been delayed. We're going to talk about that plus so much more right here on the Ango Show. Yes. Welcome back to TAS. Hopefully you guys are all having a great Labor Day, maybe Labor Day weekend, depending on when you're watching this video. But hey, guys, I want to kick things off with some very interesting news surrounding Stephanie Vaquer. We know that we didn't see her at WWE NXT No Mercy, and she actually responded to fans on social media using Twitter and Google's translation tool. The tweet basically came out and said, "Good things take time to come for those who know how to wait." And it was a photo of her. And obviously, a lot of people are kind of wondering what the hell is happening with Stephanie Vaquer, especially because WWE announced her signing. They had her at one of the house shows in Mexico City. Now, basically, we have gone to the point where we haven't seen her on TV. Not really a mention of her at all. A lot of people are kind of confused as to what is happening here. Now, I did talk a little bit about this briefly on the WWE NXT No Mercy post show, but one of the biggest concerns here that I actually have with Stephanie Vaquer's debut is WWE has 3 new key women signings. And by the way, WWE may even be signing Zeta Steele, who is currently working for Marigold, obviously part of Indies in America. That could be 4 potential new signings. And one of the biggest things for WWE is you don't want to diminish or like belittle each debut. And it's very interesting how WWE goes about this, because WWE started off with Julia, which I do believe Julia, since WrestleMania season, we've pretty much known that she's coming to WWE NXT. They did that debut before NXT moves to the CW. Now, Stephanie Vaquer is rumored to be debuting on the debut episode of NXT on the CW, which takes place in Chicago. Now, by the way, WWE's ticket sales for these arena shows are doing pretty damn well, but WWE is going to have to figure out ways to incentivize people to show up. And I think one of the biggest things by being smart, I think one of the things that they have to do is just like announce it ahead of time, if that makes sense. And I don't know when WWE plans on doing Stephanie's debut. I don't know when they plan on having Delta debut, or anyone else for that matter. But I think WWE is kind of in a tricky situation here, because if Stephanie Vaquer's debut is being delayed, also that WWE could put some attention on Julia, I think that could be somewhat problematic. And I think that's the biggest reason why I want to talk about this. If her debut is delayed because WWE wants to put attention on Julia, then eventually when Stephanie shows up, it might actually diminish Julia if Stephanie Vaquer comes in and, everybody falls in love with her a little bit more. I don't know if this makes sense to a lot of people, but my point that I'm trying to make is I feel like WWE should have debuted them all around the same time so they all equally look as important. Maybe that's a dumb way of going about it. I don't know, but that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I want to talk a little bit about Mandy Rose. There was some rumors at one point that she might go to AEW. There was some rumors that maybe she was done with wrestling altogether. We got to talk about this because I think this is not being talked about enough. But she just did an interview with Scott Fishman for SE Scoops. And basically, for those who don't know, she's been announced for the Wrestlers Combine. It's like this little indie event. I don't even really know how to explain it, but a whole bunch of wrestlers have been announced for it. And it does sound like Mandy Rose could be getting back in the ring. Now, later on in the interview, Mandy Rose was asked about what she would do if she returned to wrestling. And long story short, she's basically put it out there that her goal would be to either be on Friday Night SmackDown or Monday Night Raw. There wasn't any mention of AEW. And I'm not saying that's intentional. I'm not saying anything in regards to that other than the fact that Mandy Rose may have an opportunity to return to WWE if WWE wants to bring her back. And truth be told, I think WWE should bring her back. I think it would be absolutely smart of WWE to bring her back, especially because women's wrestling in WWE is so much better than it has ever been before. And I think if you bring in Mandy Rose, she's experienced, people still know her, people still like her, and you don't have to put her in NXT because you have a new crop of women already in NXT. So in my opinion, I'm looking at this as a situation where WWE should 1000% bring her back. And, I don't know if you guys listen to her podcast or anything like that, but Mandy Rose is somebody who, like, her whole issue with the WWE and leaving the WWE. That was part of the original regime. Now there's a different regime. They handle things a little bit differently, right? Things are being handled differently. TKO is a different company. It is a different experience. And I feel like for that reason, she would be fine in modern day WWE. It's crazy to think that she left so long ago because it doesn't even feel like it's been that long, but it is true. And also, I think one of the big things for Mandy Rose coming back to WWE is that it's really important for WWE to balance out those women's rosters, especially when there's rumors of mid-card titles coming in for the women's division. That is something to also factor in as well. So I 1000% like the idea of her coming back. I love the idea of her coming back to Raw or SmackDown. I don't think she's needed in NXT. And quite honestly, I don't like, there's never really been any articles that I saw about AEW and Mandy Rose coming together, but I've always been curious what those conversations have been like, if they've had those conversations, and maybe what is the reason why they didn't bring her in. Because Mandy Rose would have fit in extremely well to AEW, especially because in her last WWE NXT run, like, this girl was really kicking ass in the ring. She was actually doing some really great stuff in the ring. I feel like she would have actually been perfect for AEW. So definitely something to pay attention to. Ladies and gentlemen, it's finally here. Joe Tessitore is making his debut tonight on WWE Raw, September 2nd, 2024. Paul Heyman put out a tweet hyping it up. Joe Tessitore will be the commentator for WWE Raw tonight alongside Wade Barrett, I believe, should be his partner tonight. If not, then it will be Michael Cole. But I feel like there's been a lot of confusion about the commentary team switch up. I think there's been a lot of confusion with WWE changing up commentary teams every single time they do it, which is kind of why I want to talk about this. I feel like that is one area of improvement that WWE has to get better with, because sometimes you're seeing things online where it's like, okay, Joe Tessitore will be making his commentary debut, on September, the second week of September, which would have been the 9th. Then there was some stuff about, sooner and later. And I think there was just a lot of mix up. And I don't think any of those really came from WWE. But I think when those confusions out there do exist, it's perfect for WWE to be like, hey guys, Joe Tessitore on WWE Raw, this person on SmackDown. Like, just being a little bit more direct with it, I guess, probably would make a little bit more sense. But personally speaking, I think this is really good stuff. I'm excited for the first time in a while. I'm excited for an outsider to be coming in as a commentator. I think when Jimmy Smith was coming in as commentary, I liked the idea of having an outside voice come into pro wrestling. Jimmy wasn't even that bad, but I mean, it didn't work out. And I think Joe Tessitore, man, he has a great voice for this type of stuff. He does combat sports. He does other sports. Having that ESPN background is really huge. I'm curious to see how it's going to sound on WWE Raw. I'm excited about it. Let me know what you guys think. Labor Day weekend is here. I'll keep you guys updated along the week. Thank y'all for watching.